For decades, we've been handed this incredibly comforting story. You know the one, that relationships are just this nice, feel-good bonus to a life well lived. But if we strip away those cliches and actually peer into the raw biology of the human lifespan, well, a completely different reality emerges. It's kind of like looking out at a vast, dark ocean. The surface moves, sure, but the true, breathtaking mystery, that lies in the crushing depths below. So, where do the hidden currents of aging actually come from? And what invisible paths are they tracing inside of us, over decades, before they quietly and irreversibly change our direction?
Okay, let's dive into this. To really understand what's happening, we have to look at one of the most astonishing scientific endeavors in history, the Harvard study of adult development. This thing is legendary. For over 8 decades, literally outliving the original researchers who started it, this study has relentlessly chased down one incredibly rigorous question. It doesn't ask if relationships simply make us feel warm and fuzzy. No, it asks, what kinds of human connection actually shape the long arc of our health, our well-being, and how we age? This explainer gives us a serious, hard science model for thinking about aging. It proves our social lives are actually sculpted into our biology, carrying the exact same weight as our genes, our diet, or even our medical care.
You know, most of us probably view human connection as just a simple head count, just tallying up our friends, colleagues, maybe our family members. But when we zoom in on the science, a totally different ecosystem emerges. The quality of your relationships isn't just a number on a page, it's a living, breathing microclimate. What the researchers are actually measuring here is the literal air inside that relationship. Is it a safe, oxygen-rich environment where your cells can actually thrive? Or is it unpredictable, strained, and, well, quietly suffocating? Just imagine 2 identical houses standing right side by side. Same roof, same walls, same street address. But step inside, one is absolutely flooded with beautiful light and fresh air, while the other is plagued by hidden leaks, constant noise, and broken, dangerous wiring. It's the exact same thing with us. 2 identical relationship structures, say a marriage or a bond with a sibling, can harbor completely opposite daily realities for your physical body. It's not the outer structure that supports your health, guys. It's the invisible internal condition of the house that determines whether it's going to shelter you or just slowly wear you down.
And that brings us to a truly profound biological distinction. Simply being connected is not the same as being supported. You could be surrounded by a bustling neighborhood of family and friends and yet remain entirely biologically alone. Think of it like a bridge. Honestly, it doesn't matter how many people know the bridge is there. When the violent storms of life finally arrive, an illness, a sudden job loss, deep grief, does the architecture actually hold your weight in the pouring rain? True support is exactly what happens when your stress meets another person's response.
So what exactly happens inside your body when that bridge starts to crack? Well, we enter into the biology of strain. When a relationship is constantly fraught with stress, like when you're endlessly criticized or forced into the state of hypervigilance, it demands a massive, hidden biological toll. See, your body is an ancient survival machine. And astonishingly, your brain literally cannot tell the difference between the primal stress of an approaching physical predator and the modern stress of a toxic, unpredictable partner.
That invisible strain, it cascades to your entire biology, triggering these broad, systemic alarm bells. We're talking chronic muscle tension, completely shattered sleep architecture, unrelenting, deep bone fatigue. Your nervous system is a master pattern recognizer, right? A single argument here or there is totally harmless. But years of chronic, unpredictable strain, that actually alters your very cells. It dictates how fast you age and how quickly your immune system can recover from disease. The body is keeping a permanent biological ledger of every single fraught interaction. I always like to think of our daily vitality like water flowing through a garden hose. A strained relationship essentially acts as a really tight kink in that line. The water, your essential energy, is still in there, but the vital flow is just choked off. So instead of nourishing your immune system, maintaining your cognitive health, or helping with physical recovery, your energy gets desperately rerouted. It's forced into endless rumination and self-protection. But healthy connections, they do the exact opposite. They unkink the hose, letting your life flow beautifully and naturally to exactly where it's needed most.
Now, there's a really dangerous assumption out there that any close tie must inherently be a good thing. But familiarity is not the same as health. Closeness can sometimes be a trap. It can morph into enmeshment, or a suffocating dependency, or just this inescapable cycle of really costly conflict. You can have a bond that is deeply emotionally intimate and yet at the same time biologically toxic. Just being in close proximity to someone doesn't heal you. The biological effect depends entirely on the actual quality of that tie.
If we zoom out and look across the huge macro landscape of time, we start to see the true, awe-inspiring power of accumulation. Think of salt water relentlessly crashing against and shaping a jagged stone. Now, no single drop seems to matter much in the afternoon sun, right? But decades of repeated exposure, that leaves a permanent structural transformation. It's the same with us. Tiny daily interactions, a recurring criticism, or a deeply reliable word of comfort, they accumulate to form your biological climate. And make no mistake, that climate shapes the exact future of your health.
But, and this is absolutely crucial, observing this landscape requires some profound scientific caution. Because just knowing that two things move together is definitely not the same as understanding why. It is incredibly tempting to just look at the data and declare, hey, good relationships are a magical cure-all. But in science, patterns are merely the starting line. We have to step back and really avoid the dangerous trap of confusing simple correlation with absolute direct causation.
Think of this incredible Harvard study kind of like a stunning satellite photo of the Earth. From up in space, the patterns are totally undeniable, right? We can clearly see where the massive green forests thrive and where the terrain is just barren desert. And the data shows us that better relationships overwhelmingly line up with better health. But that satellite image completely hides the truth of the soil underneath. It doesn't show the history of the rainfall or the land use. To understand the true hidden mechanics of aging, we have to descend beneath the canopy.
So how do researchers decode this hidden terrain? Well, they use this brilliantly precise metric. It's almost like a scientific cheat sheet. When we simply ask, are there people around? We're really only measuring raw connection. But ask, do they respond well under stress? And boom, you uncover support. Is the relationship predictable and safe? That measures stability. Does it actually reduce strain over time? That is its protective quality. And crucially, does it create an ongoing cost to you? That reveals the relational burden. This compact little model is the absolute key to unlocking why some relationships act as lifeboats, while others are just heavy, sinking anchors.
Yet all of this introduces one of the absolute most confounding mysteries in all of longitudinal science. We call it the direction problem. Basically, which way does the arrow actually point? Think about it. If someone suffers really poor health in midlife and slowly becomes isolated, was it their weak relationships that destroy their health? Or did the crushing weight of their physical illness actually cause their social world to collapse? The arrow of causation, as it turns out, is rarely simple.
The reality here is just beautifully fluid. It is definitely not some static one-way street. It's a living dynamic feedback loop. Here's how it works. First, strong relationships act as this vital buffer, right? They absorb the massive shock of life's stressors. And then, that protected health and energy actually allows you to reinvest in sustaining those very same connections. Over decades, this creates a compounding biological loop. It's not just a nice quote for a motivational poster. It is a continuously running engine of human longevity.
To truly navigate all this complexity, we have to empower ourselves with the ultimate scientific lens. Let's call it the expert filter. Whenever you're confronted with any strong pattern in life, you have to ask, could A cause B? Or could B cause A? Or is there some hidden phantom variable, like, say, childhood stability or early financial stress, that is silently driving both of them from the shadows? Using this framework is a total game changer. It empowers you to look at the messy reality of human life with the absolute clarity of a researcher, seeing right past the illusions.
We are stepping into a profound new paradigm here. The phrase relationships matter is no longer just a vague, comforting slogan we throw around. You can now actually see the breathtaking biological machinery humming right beneath it. Our connections are the literal, structural conditions under which our physical bodies operate. They dictate our capacity for stress, our innate ability to heal, and the very speed at which we age. Which leaves us with one final thing, examining the hidden terrain of our own lives. The science has beautifully provided the map, but the landscape is entirely yours to navigate. So, when you look at the people in your world, are your relationships just a simple head count, or are they the true weight-bearing foundation carrying the magnificent load of your life?